Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you to a workshop focused on catalyzing action towards gender equality and empowering women to accelerate a just, inclusive, and sustainable energy transition, co-organized by UNIDO, ENERGIA, and GWNET, and supported by a number of governments. And thank you very much, really, for joining. And at this time of the hour, whether it is very late in the evening or early in the morning. So this is being done as we sort of prepare toward high-level dialogue energy, which Secretary General of the United Nations is convening under the auspices of UN General Assembly on the 24th of September, which is going to be done for the first time in 40 years since 1981 at the summit level. As you can see that, we have two big challenges to face. Number one, we have to achieve sustainable development goals by 2030. And then we also have to make sure we keep our planet safe by meeting the Paris Agreement on climate change. Energy sits in the middle of it. Unfortunately, our energy trajectory is not great. You can see Sustainable Development Goal number 7 on energy has several targets. And unfortunately, we are not on target to meet this SDG 7 by 2030. For example, when it comes to electricity access, about 760 million people do not have access to electricity. And then 2.6 billion people are still using traditional and dirty cooking fuels, harming their health. When it comes to energy transitions, you can see that we have to do much more and much faster to transition to cleaner, more sustainable energy systems to be able to get to net zero emissions by 2050. It's a huge transformation that is going to be needed. At the center of it needs to be women. And then how we'll be able to, transform our energy system in part depend on how much we see the women being a center stage to actually drive that transitions. On the other hand, we also need to see that such a transition will have to empower women. Right now, if you look at the situations, we are nowhere close to where we should be. One of the technical working group reports for the high-level dialogue energy highlighted that it's true that women is probably getting more jobs, for example, through the renewable energy the systems compared with the traditional the energy systems. Unfortunately, the leadership positions on the part of women is not there yet. It's only 6% of the ministerial job in the energy sectors are occupied by women. So we have tons of things to do in terms of empowering women, and then be able to use women as an agent for change for transforming the energy system, and in turn, energy system that is going to be able to empower women, and then we'll be able to get to more just, inclusive, sustainable, equitable society. So I hope that you'll be able to have a good discussion today in this workshop, and then we congratulate you all to come up with the collective energy compact, where everybody will be able to contribute to these discussions and action moving forward the next 30 years. In order for us to be able to put all ourselves in the trajectory on energy system that is going to sort of empower everybody, particularly women. With this very short introduction, we would like to go to the first opening segment. May I invite first Mr. Engineer Isaac Kiver, Secretary for Renewable Energy, Ministry of Energy in Kenya. Is he going to be represented by Mr. Paul Mtabi? In any case, please, floor is yours.
I think there are some connectivity issues from the participants from Kenya. So if you could please go on to the next speaker, that would be great.
Understood. Thank you very much. May I now invite Ms. Anna Para Sverrisdottir, Counselor, Permanent Mission of Iceland to the United Nations in New York. Anna, the floor is yours.
I think you're muted.
Well, it is early morning here in New York, in my defense. So let me start again. Great to see so many friends and colleagues from around the world. Such a good turnout for the workshop. Now, Iceland is happy to participate in this workshop as we use every opportunity and platform we get to bring attention to gender equality and women's empowerment in the global context of energy. Just to name some examples would be our support to the World Bank in the specific context of geothermal energy, another topic close to our hearts. And in our bilateral cooperation, we have, for example, provided clean cooking facilities and support for electrifying local healthcare centers that provide childbirth services in Malawi. But we are also mindful that Iceland still has the way to go, even if we can proudly say that the minister responsible for energy, as well as the Director General for the National Energy Authority, the two most powerful people in the field of energy in Iceland, are both women. We do still have a long way to go, or at least a way to go as regards gender stereotypes, and we need to fight to increase the numbers and the influence of women in the energy sector. Onwards to the process at hand, given the ambitious timeline, things are happening fast in the run-up to the high-level dialogue on the 24th. Iceland is working hard on finalizing our national energy compact, which will feature gender equality among other things. Simultaneously, we may be entering a strictly limited number of multi-stakeholder energy compacts. The proposed multi-stakeholder energy compact on gender equality and women's empowerment seems to be highly compatible with Iceland's policy and practice. And I'd like to thank the conveners for this initiative and the impressive work so far. Now, advancing gender equality takes work. Simply, it's not just lofty promises, and the devil is in the detail. Luckily, there are many tools available, including in the field of energy, and this is visible in the draft energy compact, we think. We believe that having both civil society and international organizations on board, as well as states and other stakeholders, is going to be an asset. And it is the hope of Icelander that this energy compact will add to long-term cooperation and success. Lastly, let me emphasize that we were happy to see the following sentence in the draft. Gender equality is not only smart economics and the right thing to do, but also a human right. Iceland could not agree more, and we are honored to be invited to be part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. Indeed, there is a country which is taking the leadership in the empowerment of women, and thank you very much for that sort of pointer. And then also very important sentence that you referred to right now, which of course, we wholeheartedly agree to, and we have to advance much more. With this one, may I now invite the Enis Carrion, advisor to the Vice Minister, Ministry of Energy and Non-Renewable Natural Resources of Ecuador. Floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to talk with you about this important topic in this morning for Ecuador. Ecuador has made significant efforts through energy policies towards energy matrix diversification and to increase the distributed generation, self-consumptions, storage, electromobility, energy efficiency, and other important technical aspects in energy transitions. It's worth mentioning that 19% of the Ecuadorian energy matrix is already renewable. Environmental, social, and economic factors are also decisive in the world change to renewable energy, with a perception of global village of our great house of our planet Earth. However, the energy transition comprises not only technical and environmental aspects, but also human factors, gender factors. Women fight for equal employment opportunities and payment, to overcome the gender stereotypes and preconceptions relating both to the economic cost of hiring and employing women and to women's roles and abilities, factors that reduce their access to technical training and employment. Ecuador is a country of opportunities that will allow women to be integrated into the energy transitions process only if they access to education, equal access to key position, and compliance with laws related to gender parity are guaranteed. This high-level dialogue on energy is a great opportunity to visualize the role for women and transformation factor that contributes to energy compact process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eunice, for your remark. May I now invite Mr. Madhusudan Adhikarari, Executive Director, Alternative Energy Promotion Center of Nepal. Praise you.
Hello, everyone. This is Madhusudan Adhikari from Nepal. Thank you for inviting me in this webinar. As we all know, this is a very important issue that we are advocating on the gender and energy compact and to the possibly highest level. And we from Nepal, we have been struggling to sort out this
Well, Mr. Adhikari. It seems there's a connection problem.
Especially in the cooking energy and the technologies. And this has been captured from various forums that this is very
Mr. Adhikari, I think your connection is not very well established. Wonder whether you can only connect your voice and put the camera off.
In the meantime, I see that Pauline Boothie has connected from the Ministry of Energy Kenya. I wonder if we should move on in the interest of time. Thank you very much.
Understood. Thank you very much, Sierra. May I now invite Mr. Paul Muti, the Deputy Director of Renewable Energy, Ministry of Energy, Kenya. Paul, floor is yours. I wonder, Paul, if not also from Nepal, we are re-establishing connection. Okay, maybe if the organizer is okay, we can move on to the next session and could come back. Would it be all right? Or Paul, I'm seeing your name on the screen. Would you be able to speak?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead, Paul.
I'm the connections. So can I go on?
Paul, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I'm very, very sorry for the delay. I had a problem getting the connections, but Kenya is delighted to make some remarks at this open session of a very important deep dive workshop catalyzing action towards gender equality and empowering women to accelerate a just, inclusive, and sustainable energy. Kenya believes that gender must be at the heart of promoting SDG 7. We note that currently the progress made towards gender equality in energy access has remained low and insufficient. The keys to closing this gender gap include gender action plans and gender responsive policies, as well as investments to support women-led entrepreneurship, and as well, of course, high positions for women in public and private sector energy management. The other point of concern is that as a first step, Kenya became the first country in Africa to produce a gender policy in energy, which provides a strong framework for promoting clean cooking and gender response with the aim of tracking the implementation of sustainable development goals in an inclusive manner. In this way, it is therefore gratifying that Kenya can join the multi-stakeholder effort in the form of an energy compact that seeks to catalyze action towards gender equality and women empowerment in order to accelerate a just and inclusive sustainable energy transition. So indeed, Kenya affirms our support to this initiative. We support the commitment to make energy transition a participatory enterprise with the various stakeholders committing to undertake diverse actions in line with their respective capability and the comparative advantages. The multi-stakeholder approach offers an opportunity to a meaningful engagement of all sectors through coalitions and partnerships in order to accelerate action towards the desired energy objective. So just to highlight some bit about Kenya, cooking in Kenya is characterized by heavy reliance on solid biomass fuels, primarily firewood and charcoal. The official census reports of what was done in 2019 reported that almost 67% of Kenyans rely on solid biomass fuels, out of which 11% are using charcoal. And in this way, majority of Kenyans reside in rural areas amounting to 84%. The unsustainable utilization of biomass as a primary source of energy in Kenya means that there is an urgent need to shift to alternative sources as well as efficient end-use technologies. The over-reliance on biomass as a primary source of energy, among other factors, has led to increased deforestation rendering futile our efforts to achieve the minimum tree cover of 10%. In addition, in our nationally determined contribution, which we submitted in 2020 to the UNFCCC, Kenya pledged to support or to cut down our emissions by 32% below the business as usual levels by 2030. To meet such an ambitious target, several measures have been lined up for implementation. So as part of our commitment as a global theme champion, Kenya has submitted an energy compact in clean cooking to demonstrate our desire and ambition to accelerate access to modern and clean energy services. This compact is part of Kenya's commitment to fill its NDC commitments under the Paris Agreement, as well as the net zero by 2050 objectives. My final point is that Kenya further commits to continue to champion for the establishment of an International Day for Clean Cooking. The designation of such an International Day for Clean Cooking will help to raise awareness of the widespread benefits of clean cooking and the harms that are caused by those living without access. Also to rally the world around the creation and implementation of policies that increase access to clean cooking. We also need to demonstrate the impact of clean cooking choices made with regard to production and use of clean cooking solutions and the environment at large. So in this process, we will also be able to mobilize political will and the resources to address access to clean cooking, and be able to celebrate and reinforce achievements and best practices in the production and delivery of clean cooking solutions. In conclusion, Kenya affirms that clean cooking is an important and a priority component of the national energy policy and commits to provide the highest political will and increase coordinated actions to support the transition to ensure that clean cooking is fully embedded in the national integrated energy plans and strategies. And for this, we wish to reiterate our support to this joint initiative and would be happy to cooperate and do whatever will be required of us as a country. I thank you and sorry for the delay earlier on to begin. Thank you and back to you.
Thank you very much for your passionate speech, particularly about clean cooking, and also on the linking clean cooking to the gender equality issues. And then out of the high-level dialogue energy, we certainly would like to see a lot of actions going forward, but particularly making a complete difference over the next 9 years by 2030 to achieve universal access to clean cooking solutions. And thank you very much for your personal leadership and government of Kenya on this topic. Thank you very much. I wonder that Nepal is now reconnected. Mr.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Are you on?
I came back.
Thank you very much.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Would you be able to repeat from the beginning? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was just talking about our initiative in renewable energy and clean cooking altogether. The organization I am heading is the focal nodal agency in dealing with these issues. We have been working in this area for the last 25 years, and then we have achieved quite a remarkable success in this area. We reached to around 20% of population by distributed small-scale renewable energy solutions, and more than 2 million households with clean cooking technologies. We started with the improvement of mud stove or fireplaces, and then we moved to the improvised metallic stoves and biogas technologies. And now we are also bringing the electric cooking stoves, as these are the one of the promising solution for long-term basis, as Nepal is also got quite a substantial increase in electricity access. It's around 94% current year. So we have a lot of experience, and we have been working on the clean cooking, and recently we also joining hand with ISMAP, World Bank, and GCF on bringing a bigger project in clean cooking solutions. And then, of course, when it hits a clean cooking with very much integrated with the gender issues, children issues, health issues, and a lot of other issues like social and cultural food patterns. And also this issue is really looks simple, but complicated and integrated to find solutions. So in our context, we are now basically working with our NDC2 program, our fifth 5-year 15th plan, and other efforts to bring it in a more consolidated and more organized way. And we think the most important thing after having electricity access is next agenda is to modernize clean cooking technologies and fuel use in the cooking solution. So we are putting more emphasis to mainstream the clean cooking policies in our policy documents as a priority sector in modernizing use of energy. So the most biggest challenge is, as most of the countries, especially developing countries, this is not been focused in policy. So our emphasis is there, and we are also working with this energy compact, we even these initiatives, and we are also working on our other partner supporters, GIZ, INDEB, Clean Cooking Alliance, together, and we are actively formulating a GCF project, which is almost ready to approve. We hope it will get approved in our October board. We have a plan to modernize 1 million cookie stoves, out of which 500,000 are electric cookie stoves. So our long experience in this area is that we need a very dedicated plan and policies to modernize the cooking solutions, and the need to convince the government to put more finance in this area. As we targeted to modernize all the solution by 2030, we have much less time. So we are really getting a bigger challenge to work on this. And recently we have agreed with the Clean Cook Alliance to develop country action plan, which is going to be a guiding document and to have a very clear-cut roadways pathway for coming 10 years time to get our target achieved. So I thank this initiative that we are getting a lot of forum to discuss, learn from the other lessons, global lessons, and this UN Energy Summit also brings something very concrete in this clean cooking solution areas. And with this, I would like to thank the organizer for giving this time for me to share the Nepalese experience. And we are always the part of the global community in this agenda, and we would like to contribute and like to learn from other experiences. Thank you very much for giving this chance for a few words from Nepal side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And despite the very difficult connections, and we heard you loud and clear, and including your long-standing experiences on the off-grid, the energy solutions, including cooking issues. So thank you so much for your interventions. So this concludes opening remarks by the host of this event, the representatives from Kenya, Iceland, Ecuador, and Nepal. Thank you very much for your interventions. We are now moving on to the next agenda item, which is focused on energy compact process and expectations. Here, I'd like to invite my colleague, Amir, who is from Sustainable Energy Forum, will be able to explain about energy compact. Amir, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Minoru. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me just apologize if you see my image as a whistleblower. The sun just came out behind me, so apologies for that. So let me thank all the speakers earlier on for fantastically setting the tone on what ambition on SDG 7, in particular on the equity side of it looks like, and how gender equity could be leveraged to accelerate the pace of energy transition. Let me just quote here my boss, SRSG Ogumbi, by saying that we know that there is no pathway to net zero by 2050 that does not end energy poverty by 2030. And by that, I mean, thinking about the equity, the justice, and the inclusion in the energy transition, in particular for billions of women as part of the last mile who are adversely affected by the lack of access to clean energy. I wanted to build on what was raised upfront on the high-level dialogue. It is the first time in our lifetime, most of our lifetime, that there will be a UN General Assembly mandated summit on energy, the last of which happened in 1981 in the wake of oil crisis. Since then, the energy paradigm has shifted, and we know that we need to think about energy from the equity and justice point of view. In addition, we also from the importance of energy in delivering the development priorities, be it the healthcare, vaccination, education, and productive use. So keeping all of this in mind, there's been this momentum building up in the run-up to the high-level dialogue in a few weeks in September. And we want to capture all of this and translate it into action. We know that there is already a lot going on, and what I'm going to speak to in the next few minutes is how you can join these actions too. So as you can see on the slides here, the high-level dialogue is actually, next slide, please, sorry. Yeah, so the high-level dialogue is a multi-stakeholder process. It's being led by over 30 governments from around the world as global theme champions. These countries not only represent many different geographies, but also they represent many different energy realities. While the starting points on energy transition in many countries is going to be different, and each one of them is going to be unique and novel in its own way, but the actions towards energy transition are not so different, and we can learn from each other. And the energy compacts, offer that kind of opportunity. The whole process is being led by UNEnergy, which is the platform that brings together UN agencies that work together on energy. And we have, as you can see on the slide, several UN agencies shepherding different elements of this process. And they're also being active participants in this process and putting together their own energy compact as their offer to the world. The next two slides, I'm not going to go through them in detail. So this speaks to the timeline as that we've taken to reach where we are right now. And then the next slide talks about the aggregation of some of the energy compacts that have come forward, and they were previewed in the Ministerial Thematic Forum, and I'll speak to later on. So the next slide speaks to what are the energy compacts. So energy compacts, these are voluntary commitments. It's a process open to all stakeholders on the SDG 7 movement. And they provide a platform to shine light on all the ambitious work on SDG 7 that you're already doing. But also it's a platform for multi-stakeholders to come together to work on very specific topics, like the gender equity to accelerate just transition, that you will hear more later on today. What is important to recognize is that the compacts, they are consistent with ongoing global goals. They're not separate from the SDGs, the Paris agreements, NDCs. They will complement them. So as an example, We know more than 100 countries, they have statements of enhanced energy in their NDC, like 40% of energy consumption will come from renewable energy. And what Energy Compact does is take that statement and demonstrate a pathway and a plan to reach that goal. It is important to complement what we're going to do with how we're going to do it. And the Energy Compact is that how. So where are we now in this process? In June, during the Ministerial Thematic Forum, we saw over 25 energy compacts that were previewed. These were compacts from all actors on SDG 7, be it their individual actions or as part of multi-stakeholder groups coming together to work on critical topics such as clean cooking, green hydrogen, powering healthcare, and also gender equity for a just transition, which is another one of those critical issues. And we are urging you all to join together, bring your actions, because we all have to work together to reach the 2030 goals. Next slide, please. So how can you join? Right now, you've taken the first step by joining this workshop to get all the information and hearing from all of those who have done this work, like many other partners who are on this call, to demonstrate the practicality of some of the commitments and how they look like. As I mentioned, this is a process open to all stakeholders. It starts with what is your goal and how does it align with the SDG 7 goals? And what are your specific actions that you're going to take to realize this goal? So for instance, if you say, we're going to end energy poverty by providing productive use of energy to X million of households. Each year, we want you to come back and tell us in a simple mechanism on how many households have you electrified. So this can be also accompanied when you make this commitment with a request for support. Like, I need to electrify X million of households each year, and it will be helpful for me to have technical expertise, financial support, or skill training. And then the Energy Compact ecosystem will be mobilized to make these connections for support. We know we only get there if you all get there, or not at all. And the Energy Compacts also provide that mechanism to make offers of support, be it from private sector, donor governments, and their support that are willing to share with those who are in need. And next slide, please. Yes, so the submission. Once you have a sense on what is your commitment that you're putting forward, you will submit that to UN Energy through a simple process again. There is a team from the UN Energy that's reviewing these commitments, and before they're being registered on an online repository. And then if you go to next slide, please. So this review is, this is not an arbitrary task. This is based on 5 simple principles, as you can see here. I'm not going to go through that in the interest of time, but there's a team that's going to go through each of the energy compacts and review them based on these principles. And then my final slide, I wanted to speak to the value proposition of UN Energy in this process. We know that high-level dialogue this is not the end of the process, but this is the starting point until 2030 for us in the next 9 years. And this is where UN Energy is going to play a critical role to use the UN legitimacy to facilitate collaboration on specific topics and actions, and connect the demand side with the supply side, so that we can realize, our joint commitments. Finally, I just wanted to urge all of you to participate in the upcoming high-level dialogue during the GA, which is in a few weeks from 22nd to 24th of September, but also more specifically in signing up to energy compacts. You will hear more later on today about the specificity, how you can commit to energy compacts. And if you cannot do that prior to the high-level dialogue, do it at any point until 2030. As I said, this is an ongoing process, and there will be many opportunities to showcase some of these ambitious compacts, including at the COP, where we will have an SDG 7 pavilion this year. I'll leave you to that. Thank you very much, and back to you, Minoru.
Thank you very much, Amir, for a very clear explanation about energy compact process, and then also invitation to all who have not yet submitted energy compact to consider a submission of energy compacts by the time of high-level dialogue energy. And also, of course, processes continue to be open beyond the high-level dialogue energy as well. Thank you very much. We're now moving on to the next segment of the agenda, which is to talk about energy compact to catalyze actions towards enhancing gender equality and empowerment of women. So the representing that energy compact are going to be two people. One, of course, Ms. Sierra Operacha, International Coordinator and Program Manager of ENERGIA, and followed by Catalina Proster, Project Coordinator, Gender and the Safeguards Department of Energy, the UNIDO. Sierra, could you start first with you?
Thank you very much, Minoru. Distinguished participants and dear colleagues, on behalf of the co-organizers, first of all, let me say that we're very impressed to see the high level of participation and the time taken from everyone's day to participate in this, what we feel is a very important issue. ENERGIA International Network on Gender and Sustainable Energy is honored to be part of the development of this compact and to be associated with the consortium of leading SDG 7 stakeholders that have endorsed the compact. To start the presentation on the compact, we felt it is important to underscore what has already been presented in the opening remarks, to remind ourselves of why an energy compact on gender equality and women's empowerment is critical for advancing SDG 7 on energy and SDG 7.5 on gender, as well as other SDGs, and indeed for a just and inclusive sustainable energy transition. Simply put, research and evidence shows that women continue to face barriers that prevent them from leading, participating in, and benefiting from the sustainable energy transition at all levels of the energy ecosystem. At the household level and individual level, women are the majority of the energy poor, and the lack of energy access has detrimental impacts on women's health and contributes to women and girls' time poverty and drudgery. At the business and utility level, evidence from the International Renewable Energy Agency shows that even in the best case scenario in the sector, in the renewable energy sector, women make up only 1/3 of the workforce and are underrepresented in leadership and technical positions. At the institutional and policy level, as we heard earlier on from Minoru, a report from the Clean Energy Ministerial Initiative shows that only 6% of the ministerial positions in the sector are occupied by women. Next slide, please. These challenges, but also the solutions that position women as agents of change, were discussed at the Vienna Energy Forum virtual session at the beginning of this year. During the virtual session, a call for action was launched, and this was launched in the build-up to the Vienna Energy Forum and to leverage input in the high-level dialogue on energy technical working groups and the ministerial forums. The output of this consultative process have been consolidated in the draft compact that we have shared with you and will briefly present to you today. Through this, we hope to use the economies of scale principle to aggregate individual and joint commitments to raise the level of ambition in the remaining 9 years running up to SDG 7, as well as to position the Gender and Energy Compact in the high-level dialogue and in other milestones, such as COP26, the Commission of the Status of Women, and the 2020 Vienna Energy Forum. Finally, next slide, please. Before I hand over to Katrina to present the draft compacts, in the next few slides, we did want to share with you the priority action areas that have been recommended by the international community through the high-level dialogue process and provides a strong basis for the ambitions captured in the compact. While I'm not going to the details, I'll highlight just a few, and if you could go to the next slide, please. Yes. So first was the need to enhance gender equality in energy access interventions and inclusion of gender in transformative actions. To implement sector-specific commercial scale pilot and demonstrate projects that take into account user benefits. To develop programs that provide opportunities and build capacities among professional women and youth. To increase research and education opportunities directed at energy innovations for women, youth, and marginalized groups. To strengthen local access and capacity with targeted support to address the skill gap in digital literature for women, youth, and marginalized groups, particularly in the context of COVID-19. To establish a set of indicators for monitoring and accountability on gender, including using sex disaggregated data. Katrina, I'm very pleased to hand over to you now.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening also from my side. We have been talking now a lot about the Energy Compact, and I would like to briefly show you in a few minutes how the Energy Compact to catalyze action to empower women and enhance gender equality has been shaped and is looking like at the moment, which is a draft version. As Sheila mentioned, we have been working on that for quite some time based on discussions with experts at the Vienna Energy Forum, and we conducted a survey as well. And based on this, we have come up with this theory of change. You have heard from also our distinct speakers in the beginning from all parts of the world that women are facing many barriers that are hindering them to benefit in an equal way and to lead in an equal way from the sustainable energy transition. For example, women are facing a lack of access to resources, for example, financing, training, and technology, just to mention one part. And we also know where we want to be. We know that we want to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Most of all, now we are focusing on SDG 5 and SDG 7. We have two main goals. We want to have that women have equal opportunity to lead, participate in, and benefit from the sustainable energy transition. And secondly, we want that women have equal access to and control over sustainable energy products and services. Based on this, we have defined five main outcome areas, and these are mentioned in the Energy Compact. And we think that a lot of stakeholders are required to address these outcomes. Let me mention maybe one of them. National and regional ecosystems should be strengthened to promote and support gender equality and empowerment of women, so that countries and regions are enabled to formulate or reformulate gender-responsive energy policies and also adopt them and develop and implement gender-responsive energy compacts. Or we want to reach that women businesses have increased access to productive resources, for example, finance, so that more women can be leaders in sustainable energy. So to overcome the barriers that are mentioned at the bottom and to reach the outcomes and the goals that are on the top of the slide, we need certain activities, ambitions, and targets, and these are mentioned in the Energy Compact. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is the general structure of the Energy Compact that we are presenting, and that has also been shared with many of you, and that we will share with everyone who is registered and participating in the meeting as well afterwards. We have the background, the theory of change that I just presented. We have 10 guiding principles mentioned that show certain principles that are important for enhancing gender equality and empowering women. We are working on developing joint commitments and ambitions to which all stakeholders and many can commit and sign up to. And we are also, as Amir has mentioned before, suggesting that every stakeholder would develop their own individual commitments and targets to reach these joint commitments and ambitions, because everyone is working at a different level with a different mandate. So each of the concrete activities would be also different from each stakeholder. Next slide, please. So on the next steps, briefly, today we have the Energy Gender Deep Dive workshop, and we are working towards the high-level dialogue on energy, which is around the 22nd to 24th of September. And during that high-level dialogue, we hope to launch the Gender-Energy Compact coalition with the commitment of stakeholders to the ambitions that are mentioned in the Energy Compact as a living document. This is something very important. It's just a start, and we don't see that this document will be defined and finalized by then, but we hope that afterwards still many will be able to join. And then we are thinking of bringing this to the COP26 and also to the CSW in March next year. And since it has started with the Vienna Energy Forum, definitely we will also bring it to the Vienna Energy Forum in 2023. So we see that to reach the 2030 goals, we have to set stepwise targets, smaller targets. Maybe what do we want to reach in 1 year, in 2 years, so that we show progress. And this is something that we will work on with all the stakeholders that are joining this Energy Compact. On the next slide, we have put down a few more concrete next steps. So it would be great if you could let us know, inform us if you would like to sign up to the coalition and endorse the ambitions of the Energy Compact. You're very welcome to review the Energy Compact and provide comments both on the theory of change, maybe we have overlooked something, and further define it, work on it, and also develop your own individual commitments based on your timeline. And then as a last point, if you're hopefully supporting this Energy Compact, then also supporting with the outreach and dissemination of the coalition and the Energy Compact. This could, for example, involve sending quotes for press releases and contribution to hosting and participating in related workshops and events. And now I would like to hand over again to Minoru.
Great, thank you very much for a very clear presentation by Sarah and Katharina. Thank you so much. Now we have got another 30 minutes to go, and then I think we'd like to hear as many sort of perspective and contribution suggestions as possible. So I am now going to hand over to Rana, who is from UNIDO, to moderate the interactive discussion with the panelists. Rana, floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Minoru, and it's also my pleasure to join the meeting today, and also wonderful to see the progress that we've been able to bring about to the table on this topic of gender equality in the energy sector. We've been really lucky to work with GWNET and ENERGIA in shaping this energy compact, and very happy as well to see the appetite that all the partners have shown to really make some commitments on this topic. So today I have around 6 speakers that will come in and bring in their input on where they see some of the most promising priorities that are shown in these in this gender energy compact, and which areas they also would like to contribute with their own organizations. And to kick us off, I would like to invite Simin Kayoum. Simin is the officer in charge of the economic empowerment at UN Women. Simin, tell us which of these 5 areas do you feel speak the most to you, and what would UN Women like to bring to the table?
Thank you very much, Rana, and Excellencies, distinguished panelists and colleagues. On behalf of UN Women, we are very pleased to support the development and implementation of this Gender Energy Compact to achieve a gender-responsive, just, sustainable and energy transition with women's rights, livelihoods, resilience, and well-being front and center in this time of multiple crises, reflected in the Compact's emphasis on women's participation, leadership, access, benefits. This compact is critical for the achievement of the 2030 Agenda. Clearly, goals 5 and 7, which are both prerequisites for realizing the agenda, but all the goals. The compact's outcomes to reduce women's energy poverty, enact gender responsive sustainable energy policies and strategies, increase women's energy entrepreneurship and participation in the energy workforce, and strengthen gender responsive data, statistics, knowledge are critical to reverse the downward trend in achieving gender equality and energy access and realize the goals by 2030. The compact is equally critical for confronting the climate crisis, building the climate resilience of women and their communities, and facilitating their participation, leadership, and benefits from climate mitigation and adaptation efforts, which obviously have sustainable energy at their core. UN Women stands ready to collaborate with compact partners in the upcoming Conference of the Parties and other climate/energy action. UN Women would like to point to a few key priorities: sustainable energy infrastructure and services to reduce and redistribute women's and girls' unpaid care and domestic work, an ongoing challenge, as we know, but one which has become a veritable care crisis in the aftermath of the pandemic, coupled with a climate environment emergency. And quality, decent jobs in sustainable energy that not only ensure women's right to an adequate standard of living, but also enable women's leadership and decision-making in the sector. While financing is included in the compact, we would like to stress the critical need to increase investment in gender-responsive sustainable energy and facilitate financing to women and their organizations. Finally, I would like to mention that the Commission on the Status of Women, CSW, priority theme for its 66th session in March 2022 is achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls in the context of climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies and programs. We would welcome discussion of how the compact could usefully engage in CSW. And in the interest of time, I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simin. Great to hear the support that you bring to this topic, but also this integration also into processes that are related to women empowerment like CSW. I think we need to move more and more towards more integrated approaches. So with that, I'll introduce our second speaker, Rima Nanavati, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, Director of the Self-Employed Women's Association, SIVA. Rima, tell us which priority speaks the most to you, and what would SIVA like to bring into this? Conscious of time, I would also like to request you please to restrict your intervention to a maximum of 3 minutes. It seems like Rima dropped off, maybe? Do we know from the organizers if she's still there or not?
Yes,
if not,
she's had issues, so please continue with the next speaker.
Okay, perfect. So we will move on to the next speaker, Irina Latirini. Irina is from the energy community, and she is leading actually the work on gender within the community. So Irina, tell us which of these priorities speaks the most to you, and where do you see the contribution of the energy community in stepping up ambition on energy and gender issues?
First of all, many thanks, Rana, for the floor, and it's good to see you again discussing about women leadership in just energy transition. Thanks also to Sheila and to Katarina for involving the energy community in this very important dialogue. Let me just clarify that the energy community contracting parties, we're discussing about Western Balkans and Eastern countries, are very much leading now the energy transition. And what we are committed to do is not to have only an energy transition where women are not really part of the picture, but a just energy transition, which includes women on the decision-making table. So this will be a first priority for us, to be really inclusive for real and to have women being part of the decision, shaping the objectives early on. We would like to bring that in all kinds of strategies that the energy community is supporting in our contracting parties, which mean trying to include as much as possible a gender equal and social inclusive approach, where women can really have a say and focus on the objectives that are important for us as well. This will lead to a second commitment, which will be combat gender blind planning, but also finance and execution of projects. Our contracting parties are now transitioning from fossil fuel sector, mainly based on lignite, to renewables. But unless we really tackle this process, or we embed gender in this process, then it will be just a transfer, but we will not be equal. For this, it's important also to include the women perspective in all kind of project, and we believe that this gender equality approach will be very important. And one thing that we are really trying to do since early this year is to endorse gender responsive procurement, and this is something not easy to do, but I believe it's necessary also to follow up on what Semin was saying at the beginning. So these will be our main priorities, and we will be very happy to work with our contracting parties and with all of you to bring them forward and to have some stats at the end of the year to show during the meetings. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Irina. Wonderful to see how you plan to also mainstream this perhaps within policies within the community and also the contracting partners and countries that you cover. I'd like to turn now actually to Marco from the Private Finance Advisory Network, PFAN. PFAN, I know, has been doing quite a lot of work on gender lens investing. We keep on talking about the funding that needs to come to the energy transition, but is that investment gender blind? You know, what is PFAN's aspiration actually to bring better justice on this, and what would you like to bring to the Energy Compact? Marco, we don't hear you. Something, your sound is not so good. Can you try again? Okay, seems we've lost Marco. So until Marco comes back, perhaps I'll invite Rabia Faruqi, the Director of Policy at IRENA. Irina was one of the first, and in fact, under your leadership, to really put the figures and statistics showing us where that we are really lagging behind on this topic of the nexus of women and gender. So tell me, what do you think? Which one of these 5 priorities sticks out to you, and what would Irina like to bring to the table?
Thank you so much, Rana. And again, thank you for inviting us. And I'm very pleased to be here on behalf of Irina. Indeed, we have done quite some work, quantitative and qualitative, over the past 10 years on the role of gender in renewable energy. And some of the work has been either mentioned or you just also mentioned it. I think that we continue to be very committed to support all the efforts to resolve the gender imbalances. I think that the 2 main priorities we would have is continue the knowledge-based products that we have had in terms of best practices, policies to mainstream gender, etc. And the second one, as you mentioned as well, is the gender data gap. I think that continues to be, it's critical, and it continues to be a problem in order to support the kind of policies that we'd like to see implemented. Just to mention very quickly that we have now a collaborative framework at IRENA on the just and inclusive transition, which is co-led by the United States and Kenya, where the gender dimension within all the activities we do on jobs, on skilling, reskilling, education is a major component. And we'd like to bring to the table also, let's say, this all the governments that stand behind this collaborative framework in terms of putting efforts, exchange, and some specific initiatives on jobs and gender, which I hope we can bring to the table. The one thing that I think really in terms of data, I think we've done some efforts as far as the modern sector is concerned, or the non-access context, I would say. But in terms of the access context, there is a huge gap, which some institutions like Power for All have started filling, but I think there is a great need to collaborate and put together our effort and the resources, especially specifically to fill that gap in terms of data in order to support all the policies that we are trying to promote. So thank you again. I don't want to be long, and we're very happy to be part of it and contribute as much as we can.
Great, thanks, Rabia. That's why we hope really that this platform, bringing in so many partners, that we could really look together at how we can improve this availability of data at all levels and help move the conversation forward. Marco, I don't know if you managed to reconnect and would like to share with us your thoughts on gender lens investing.
Yes, I hope I'm back with a normal voice.
Perfect. Works very well.
I sometimes have this problem that I sound like Mickey Mouse, so apologize for that. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to share our commitment and contribution on behalf of PFAN, which is part of the overall UNIDO commitment. And before I do that, I'd like to say that PFAN recognizes not only the responsibility, but also the opportunity for us to contribute towards the overarching goal of gender equality, empowerment of women, not only within our internal operations, but also in the work we do in terms of our coaching and investment facilitation activities. So our commitment is really linked to the finance angle. PFAN, for those that don't know us, is the private financing advisory network hosted by UNIDO and REAP, which is not a financier or an investor, but we're an intermediary. We are a network of climate finance advisors that try to mobilize investments into clean energy and climate projects. And our commitment is really linked to two observations. First of all, that investors are driven by returns. So that means they need compelling investment opportunities. And secondly, to the statement that is also included in the zero draft and already quoted by Iceland, in terms of gender equality being not only smart economics and the right thing to do, but also a human right. But in this case, I would like to focus on the smart economics part of it. Because we see more and more evidence that gender diversity and leadership is actually in the workforce leads to higher financial returns, lower risks, and sustainable growth. And this has led to this growing movement of gender lens investing that you were referring to, Rana, in your introduction. And this is also where the contribution of PFAN comes in. Earlier this year, I made a commitment on behalf of UNIDO with PFAN at the core at the Gender Smart Investment Summit to capacitate our 140 advisors to be effective agents of change to influence project developers, entrepreneurs, but also investors to become more gender responsive, but also to mobilize other intermediaries to do the same. And what is behind this is going back to these compelling investment opportunities. If the investors want to be able to invest in gender smart investment opportunities, the kind of the intermediaries system needs to support entrepreneurs to do that. So this is what we have committed to do as PFAN, but of course PFAN will only make a small impact, and we're mobilizing others to follow suit and organize an event on this actually next week. And through this, we hope to contribute not only to giving more access to finance of the women entrepreneurs, but also linking it to the two goals mentioned by Katarina of the overall compact. So back to you, Rana.
Great, Marco. Well, we certainly hope that the Energy Compact can help amplify these efforts that PFAN is taking and bringing others as well on board. I'd like now to turn to Shonali Bachori, who is a research group leader at the Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, IASA. Shonali, which one of these areas also speaks the most to you, and where do you see IASA's contribution in this Energy Compact?
Yeah, thank you, Rana, and thank you for inviting me to join this effort, which IASA is very happy to be partnering with all of you on. We've already heard from many of the distinguished speakers before me that the global energy access gap is a gendered gap, and that to achieve a just and equitable transition, we really need to have efforts to account for heterogeneities in energy needs, impacts, and access levels that differ widely, we know, between men and women, young and old, rich and poor. EASA stands ready to work with all the partners endorsing this compact to develop measurement frameworks and indicators to measure, track, explore, and analyze these differences. We know that accurate and comprehensive measurement of a range of aspects related to modern energy access and gender equity are fundamental inputs to both research and policy. And we know that the lack of data in this space has been a real impediment in advancing this agenda. So I think there's a need for this gender disaggregated, sex disaggregated data to really monitor progress towards the SDGs and evaluate interventions designed to improve developmental outcomes. In particular, we know that energy interventions and transitions affect men and women differently, and monitoring frameworks and data collection efforts really need to take this into account. Gender and sex disaggregated data collection efforts really need to be mainstreamed into general statistics collection efforts at the national level, at the regional level, at the subnational level, and in all program and project evaluation frameworks. And we're hoping that through the Energy Compact to catalyze action towards enhancing gender equality and empowering women, there will be an ambition to really collect data, analyze and publish knowledge products, case studies, and so on, that increase our understanding of the differences and the visibility of women, and particularly the gender and energy nexus. We hope also that through this more transparent understanding and systematic data collection, which of course everyone will have to buy into, we can incentivize better and push for more equitable distribution of resources and opportunities for men and women, and customize solutions to meet the specific needs of each gender. We also hope that there will be sort of better efforts to investigate the gender aspects and potential impacts of policies and projects that may not be directly related to gender or energy, but will have implications for gender and energy. So with that, I'm hoping that there will also be opportunities for complementing data collection efforts through the traditional survey-based methods of that most countries undertake, with more satellite-based Earth observation or citizen science-based data collection efforts. So with that, I'll end here, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Shonali. I'd like to, actually, during the virtual consultations of the Vienna Energy Forum, one of the things that we were discussing is you can't improve it if you can't measure it. So you've re-emphasized this now with also this point. Yeah, I see already that there are some opportunities for collaboration with some of the consortium members to really move forward on the topic. And I'd like to turn now last to Dimfna van der Lans, Chief Executive Officer of the Clean Cooking Alliance. Dimfna, pleasure having you here. And we've already heard actually in the opening statements of Kenya and also Nepal, the emphasis on clean cooking. I guess that was music to your ears as well. But yeah, let us know. I mean, there's often the connection of women with clean cooking, but we want to also make sure that it's not just, you know, women as users of the technology, but also influencing the technology development and so on. So where do you stand on these topics, and what would you like to bring to the Energy Compact?
Yeah, thank you very much, Rana. And indeed, it was music to my ears. I will say that both countries are incredible leaders in making sure that their countries transition to clean cooking solutions. So we have been working with them for many years, and it's always a delight to hear their ambition continue to grow. So that's always wonderful. At the Clean Cooking Alliance, we're really excited about this Energy Compact. Actually, I think it's highly appropriate that there's one really focused on what we collectively can do to make sure that gender is really taken into consideration. Personally, I really feel that the increasing women's voices in decision making is one of the most important parts of all of this. I will say that one of the very first, pardon me, one of the very first speakers mentioned that it's easy to say, but it's really, really hard to do. And it takes a lot of work from all of us collectively to move that forward. And so maybe I can share 4 specific things that the Clean Cooking Alliance is doing, like really actionable on the ground, that anybody who's listening today, I really encourage you to reach out to us and see how we can help you move your own individual at a country or organization level ambitions forward. The first one is a wonderful and empowering mentoring program that we're doing together with GWNET that has been going for several months there. I know women from different parts of the ecosystem are participating in. So they're entrepreneurs, they're focused on finance, policy, researchers, and we feel it's really important to bring all of them together and not keep them in silos, but really allow them to grow their networks as they continue to grow their careers. Secondly, as was mentioned by Kenya, they have a really ambitious gender policy at the country level that we are ready to work with other countries to see how they can use that particular policy that has already been developed and replicate it elsewhere. So very often organizations and countries think that it has to be developed from scratch. It doesn't. There's some really good examples out there that the Clean Cooking Alliance would be delighted to work with other countries to make sure they're embedding solid gender policies in their own country level ambitions as well. Thirdly, we have about 30 companies in our venture catalyst portfolio with whom we work one-on-one to make sure that they're embedding gender-based business practices within their businesses. So very often they're smaller startup entrepreneurial companies who may not have the resources to do it themselves. It's, as I said, it takes a lot of work and some really thoughtful processes that need to be established. And at the Clean Cooking Alliance, we're working with those companies directly, and we'll be delighted to share that learning and that expertise in those processes with others so that other companies can replicate and scale this relatively quickly. Fourth, as you mentioned as well, Rana, we are excited to launch a new initiative, which is called the User Insight Lab. Indeed, the women are most often the users of all these clean cooking solutions, as we all know. And so we want to make sure we're capturing the voices of them as decision makers, as users at the core and where they're doing and engaging with the solutions that are out there. And then fifth, as was already mentioned, we are increasingly working with the investment community to make sure that gender-based investment and other opportunities to really grow and scale the business solutions and the solutions out there are increasingly focused on gender-based investment and other opportunities to continue to scale and grow that market. So I thought I would be just really concrete and invite anybody who's listening to reach out to us to see if we, in any of these topic areas, we can provide additional support to anybody here. Thank you, Rana.
Thank you so much, Dimfna, for those useful inputs. And so I'd like to thank you all for joining and also for the endorsement of the compact. I invite others to join us as well. Please do reach out. My colleague Katarina had her contacts are in the chat and also in the presentation. So do reach out to engage with us more on this energy compact. And with that, I turn back to Minoru to introduce the second segment.
Thank you very much, Rana. We're moving on. So we have a Q&A and intervention from the floor to the extent time allows.
Thank you very much, Rana.
Yes, to be moderated by Irene, who is Senior Advisor to GWNET. Irene, are you available?
Yes, Minoru, thank you very much for giving me the floor. It's a great pleasure to be part of this deep dive workshop on behalf of the Global Women's Network for the Energy Transition. Our organization works with women who are already active in sustainable energy to help them make it in this male-dominated field. And we are also working on making the sector more inclusive. We have encountered many instances and many examples where women are already showing and displaying extraordinary leadership in the field, but we hope very much that through this compact, we will open the doors for many more such women and much greater leadership in this area. We believe that is urgently needed to accelerate and to deepen the energy transition. I have requests from the floor, from a number of people. First, I would like to give the floor to a representative from the youth constituency, SDG 7 youth constituency, Carvel Baird, regional focal point for Latin America and Caribbean. You have the floor, Carvel. And please, let's be very short because we are pressed for time as always.
Absolutely. Thanks, Irene. We recognize the power of energy to empower women and girls. Currently, women, particularly young women, suffer the most from unreliable and affordable access to energy. Clean energy can enhance their access to vital infrastructure and services, and teaching skills and offering opportunities to include them in the transition to clean energy will enable gender parity and elevate their socioeconomic prospects. Providing clean, appropriate technologies will safeguard their health. So in partnership with UNIDO, the SDG 7 Youth Constituency has been working to encourage governments and other stakeholders to create enabling conditions to empower women and youth to meaningfully participate in the clean energy transition. They are key stakeholders for building nexuses across sectors such as agriculture and manufacturing. In January 2021, we launched the Vienna Energy Forum Call to Action, and we are pleased to see that this initiative has been developed to become a prominent resource as part of the high-level dialogue process. So moving forward, we hope to see advances in our technologies and storage, because this will help us accelerate the transition and guarantee that it is inclusive. We must also ensure that every applicable technology at all scales is considered. So we urge decision makers to prioritize ambitious actions that will serve as an investment in our societies. Thank you.
The next speaker that I would like to ask to take the floor is Shalini Sareen, co-founder and executive director, Electromobility India, and co-chair South Asia Women in Energy.
Thank you very much, Irene, and thank you very much, the Energy Compact, to bring such amazing people together towards the same initiative. SAVI, as we know, is the South Asia Women in Energy network, and this is supported by USAID and USISPF. In the past, GTG RISE, which is Greening the Grid, was supporting it and brought it till here, and now SARE takes over the baton going forward. Our ambition, like a lot of people who have expressed here, is the same: to be able to increase the women's participation, representation in decision-making, rights, access, and various other elements of procurement, clean energy, etc. Some of the broad areas that we've been working on is how can we bring out more and more women to be recognized who are working in this space? How can we create platforms for networking and help them expand their knowledge and horizon? How can we bring in knowledge sharing? And we've come out with some white papers as well on our site. And one of the programs that is doing really well is our mentoring program, where we are doing group mentoring and one-on-one to be able to bring out women entrepreneurs and also young women professionals as we see the whole transition in clean energy from fossil fuel to decarbonization, digitization, decentralization, decoupling, all of that giving more and more opportunity for women participation per se. So all of this, along with policy and advocacy, is our ambition. And of course, some of the areas that we want to be able to address are, of course, how can we bring more awareness? And we've done programs with utilities on benchmarking, on infrastructure, and the basic policies within their organization. Second, there is an initiative on skilling and reskilling, whether it is AI, ML, or any of the STEM related areas, where we find the percentage and the representation very low. Even where the women representation has increased, it's more in administrative jobs. Third, of course, providing more opportunities for access to finance and inclusion, and of course, in decision making. So happy to answer any questions, but because of the paucity of time, Irene, I take your message and I'll pause here.
Thank you very much, Shalini. Thank you for being concise also. I'm looking through my screen. I have 6 pages of screen with so many participants. Currently, I don't see any hands raised. So I give back to you, Katarina, perhaps.
I think if there are no questions, we can hand back to Mr. Minoru for the closing.
Thank you very much, Katarina. Then Minoru, would you kindly do the closing for us?
Okay, thank you very much, Irene, and thank you very much everybody for a very energetic conversation today, the last 90 minutes. I think this is really a good moment to bring all actors together using the high-level dialogue energy, which is a sort of first time in 4-decade opportunity to bring all heads of state together under the hat of the United Nations to talk about energy agenda and drive the actions toward SDG 7 achievement and net zero transitions pathway. And we have to energize that discussions that bringing in the gender perspective. And doing so, I'm sure we'll be able to also energize gender transformation strategy that, in all countries, in all societies, that everybody trying to pursue. Because at the end of the day, whatever pathway that we take on the energy side toward the universal energy access and net zero emissions cannot be done without empowering and energize women's leadership at the center of the society. So I hope that everybody will be able to join the energy compact that is proposed today, and also bring in many other actors who will potentially be able to contribute to this process, to come together to join and push this energy compact. It is a very important energy compact that we're creating together. And we're not stopping there. The high-level dialogue energy is the beginning of the next 9-year process up to 2030. So I hope that you take this one as a starting point to bring more actions, more actors together to move forward together. With this one, I would like to close on behalf of the co-organizers and the co-hosts, and thank you very much for joining. And I look forward to seeing you during the high-level dialogue energy. Thank you very much.